Hey guys, I'm Ron Kennedy, and you are right now watching Crazy Grace Worldwide. And I know that many of you are used to Fallout Shelter Church and Life Fire Community Church and NoCondemnation.net and Life Church, and you're kind of wondering what in the world is going on. Why have I been redirected to this insane website called Crazy Grace Worldwide? Well, there's a reason. And the reason is because it is our responsibility here in all of these great ministries that have come together to build this conglomerate to specify to each and every one of you that you have been saved by grace. That leads me to a wonderful point. You know, every time I'm in public and someone runs across me and they know who I am and they know about the book Crazy Grace, they always ask, well, Ron, what in the world does Crazy Grace mean? And while I love the question, I think it's a great question, the answer is so deep that it rocks the foundations of the core of our belief. So if you guys don't mind, just as I introduce ourselves to you, I would like to also introduce you to this wonderful teaching called Crazy Grace. If you go back to the Word of God, you run across the book of Luke. And in the book of Luke, you go to chapter 1, and you see that there's a story of this young lady. Maybe she's walking to one of her father's footpaths or in a neighbor's garden or somewhere for that matter, off in some wild wilderness. But the point is, as she's walking around, she kind of has an encounter with an angel of the Lord, a messenger from God. And the first words that he speaks to her is, Greetings, you who are highly favored. And anytime anyone ever asks me what Crazy Grace means, I say it means that someone, somewhere, somehow, has received this great, unusual, high favor from God, this high call of grace. And what's so interesting is the word that is used in our English transliterations that means highly favored, go back to the Greek, it's the word keritao. Let me say that again, keritao. This word actually means wild and insane level of grace. It's a high calling, a way out there type of structured grace that's been just poured out with all kinds of crazy. Actually, it's crazy grace, isn't it? That's what keritao is. And every time I answer that, people are like, wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. Mary, she experienced crazy grace. And then they get this really weird look on their face, and they're like, well, wait a minute, what does that have to do with me? I mean, I'm not Mary. I'm not pregnant with Jesus, the Son of God, the God-man. I'm certainly not going to have a baby while I'm a virgin. What on earth does this crazy grace have to do with me? How does it apply to my life? Well, what's interesting is that word keritao is a very rare word in the Greek language. As a matter of fact, throughout the annals of time, its use is so rare that it's almost become non-existent. As a matter of fact, in the Word of God, the use of the word keritao is only used 2 times. That's what brings me to a very interesting point. If we go forward from Luke chapter 1 to Ephesians chapter 1, we run across something amazing. We run across the Apostle Paul speaking on the topic of grace. Yes, he says it is by grace that you have been saved, not of works, lest any man should boast. But he also tells us that it is by this glorious grace that we have been called. And in the place of the words, or the phrase rather, glorious grace, we find in the Greek word, keritao. That's right. The Apostle Paul was very clear when he wanted each and every single one of his hearers and his readers over the course of the next 2,000 years to understand that we have been called by the same exact grace that Mary, mother of Jesus, was called. You don't believe me? You go back right now to Luke chapter 1, and you can read it for yourself. Think about all of the little steps that was taken in order for us to see beyond a shadow of a doubt that Mary was called by grace. Number 1, she was a virgin, which meant that she didn't deserve to have the baby in her womb. It hasn't happened. It was nothing that she did to earn that. Let me tell you something. Spiritually, you're a virgin. There's nothing that you can do to earn your salvation. It's something that He did. It's grace that He lavished on you. Next was the fact that she didn't earn it, yet the Son of God lived on the inside of her. Check this out. You didn't earn it, but yet the Son of God lives on the inside of you. And because the Son of God lived on the inside of her, it was that the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords lived on the inside of her, and she soon gave birth to the light of the world. It's because the Son of God lives on the inside of you. It's the reason that the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords lives on the inside of you. And because of that, you have been birthed into the light of the world. That's right. It's nothing you've done. As a matter of fact, there's nothing you can ever do. It's what He's already accomplished. It's the finished work of the cross. And as we talk about the finished work of the cross, we understand that's what Keritao is all about. That's what Crazy Grace Worldwide is all about. It's about understanding that the glorious grace of God has called us away from a life of deprivation and hurt and into His glorious life.